Do you have a murder hobo in your game? It might actually be your fault. Today on RPG Boons. Hello, everybody. I'm Don Franco 3. This is RPG Boons, where we talk about everything RPG and how everything is RP. Today, we're going to talk about murder hobos and ways to prevent them from being in your game. So, you started a new campaign. Very exciting. Yes, I finally got enough people together to get that game going. You've created your map, you created your world, you've distributed your races. Everything seems to be going good. You've also watched my one shot to campaign video and started creating that one shot that you can later build into a campaign. You've decided to go with the claims of undead, missing people. There's few volunteers that have gone looking for them and have gone missing. And towards the end of that one shot, you're going to have clues pointing to someone inside that town. What else did you do? You went and got stat blocks. So this one shot is about zombies. So you went and got that zombie stat block and that archmage stat block, which is going to be your big bad evil guy. You gathered all these people to play Dungeons and Dragons, and they've all developed their characters going through these basic steps to character creation. And in that adventuring party, you have at least what you believe is a pretty well balanced party. You have a barbarian, a bard, a cleric, and a sorcerer. Now, the bard's probably going to be a school of swords bard because you need that other attacker in your group. So you create an introduction to your one shot. You start talking about the things that have happened. Your players decide to go talk to an NPC in town, and all of a sudden, one of your players kills your NPC, and you're like, "What the murder hobo?" In my game, now, did you see it coming? Did you know you were going to have that murder hobo in your game? Chances are you did. We all know that shisty, invigorating, interesting person that we've invited to our game. Now, before the game started, did you set up the rules? Not the rules in the book, but just general rules about your table. And a lot of times, this is what people talk about in session zero. I actually don't think you need a session zero. I think you can actually, do it via Discord, via chat. If for some reason somebody doesn't have the player's handbook, then maybe you can lend them some pages from your PDF. But you could have that session zero to kind of take care of all these things. Now, I've said this in the past. You only really need two things to have a successful game, and they are maturity and cooperation. Now, when I say maturity, I'm not talking about age, because some of us know some older people that are not very mature at all. What I'm talking about in terms of maturity is no whining and crying at the table. No rules learning. Every time the dungeon master makes a call, he doesn't need you to try to correct him. No cheating on your rolls. I don't know how many times I've looked at a player, they've rolled and slowly try to cover their hand to hide the number that they rolled. Come on, maturity. And no murder hobos, which is what today's video is about. And on top of that, every now and then we like to have a couple drinks at our game. No drunks, okay? And cooperation is a huge key component to the success of your game and how much fun you're going to have. All the players should buy into the narrative. Whatever the DM decides, you need to buy into that. No GM versus heroes. Now, I know this is a little difficult for GMs because they actually set it up that you control the monsters and you get to attack the players. But the bottom line is, I've said this in previous videos, you create the stories, but you don't determine the ending of the stories. And there has to be cooperation between PCs with the GM. That means if you see the GM trying to do something or Dungeon Master trying to do something, you need to help them out sometimes. It's our job to really try to help each other to make sure that the story continues to flow forward and you're not doing weird things to really disrupt the game or the flow of the game. Or if you're trying to solve a mystery, you're not trying to interfere with that by doing something weird like murdering an NPC player. That's very important. PC supporting other players. Everybody should get the limelight. Okay, so if you see somebody playing their character, let them have their moment. You should have your moment. Everybody should have their moments. Play your role. Are you a barbarian? Are you a paladin? What does that mean? If you're a cleric or a paladin and you're part of some type of order, remember, you are part of some type of cleric and paladin order. Behave accordingly. Work to move the story. Keep the flow of the story going. Try not to do mundane things, walk around shopping all the time, asking for very rare items, asking for very rare herbs. Just when the story's moving forward, don't be the person that interrupts the flow. Now, how do you deal with these murder hobos? These murder hobos have to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. These murder hobos have to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. So I think what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to show you ways to prevent murder hobos from happening. Sometimes it's a one shot. You don't really release these rules that you want to have for the players, but you definitely should, if you want, take a screenshot of that and make your own version of it. Send it out to your players before the game starts, just establishing some base rules for your game. This way, no murder hobos should happen in the beginning. In case you forgot to do that, here are some things you can do to remedy those murder hobos when they're in your game. Today, we're going to talk about how to murder the murder hobo, that infidel. To kill a murder hobo infidel is not murder. It is the path to righteousness. And we're going to do it by using the Monster Manual. In the Appendix B of the Monster Manual, there's a lot of NPCs there that you can easily use to put your game back on track after that murder hobo gets out of control. One of the first methods I want to show you for controlling that murder hobo is a commoner uprising. Anytime there's a village, try to make sure there's 20 to 50 people there. If that murder hobo murders, you have all these commoners that can step in and essentially stop that murder hobo. Maybe just the act of all these commoners seeing someone they know, someone they love being murdered is going to get them to unite and kill that murder hobo. Why? Because we don't need that kind of player in our game. And if you're worried about what am I going to do after I kill this murder hobo, there's a website called fastcharactersheetbuilder.com. Immediately create that character and let them play again. Another thing we can do is within the town, there's a veteran. He's retired. He's not interested in getting involved. But again, if that murder hobo decides to be a murder hobo, we're going to kill the murder hobo. What are we going to do? We're going to take that stat blocks in the Monster Manual, page 350. We can either double those hit points if we need, depending on the level that your characters are, or we can just unleash him as he is. This murder hobo will cause this hidden veteran to come out to attack them. Is there law in that town? Typically, these small towns have one person who's in charge of making sure other NPCs don't get out of control. This is going to be the sheriff or the marshal. I believe marshal spelled wrong. But the point is, you can use the night stat block that's on page 247 in the Monster Manual. Again, this is a pretty decent stat block, 52 hit points. But if you need to, double that to make sure that the character is strong enough to take on this murder hobo. Now, if that one shot ends and everybody convinces that murder hobo to stop murdering, another thing you can do is have a revenging hero. That person they murdered could have a relative or a friend that's actually a hero. In this case, I'm looking at a gladiator stat block, page 346 of the Monster Manual. You can easily turn this guy into a hero non-player character that could come in looking for that murder hobo. Another thing we can do that's related to that is maybe a family member comes to town, realizes that their loved one is missing, and actually hire a bounty hunter to find that murder hobo. Here I put a stat block of the assassin, page 345 of the Monster Manual. You can see it has plenty of things that it can do. So another way to alleviate that murder hobo is have a priest come out, a holy man, trying to stop him and potentially even heals the dead commoner or whoever they decided to kill, one of the NPCs they decided to kill. This priest can revive them. Now, this kind of causes the situation to be neutralized and get it back to base, right? But if that murder hobo insists on attacking the priest, you can always double his hit points, give him more bonuses. Make sure you prepare these spells ahead of time. Now, another thing to think about, this priest could be part of a cleric order, paladin order. Again, if this priest goes missing because the murder hobo decides to kill him, then you can easily create a situation where paladins and clerics come looking for this priest. Now, let's say all chaos breaks loose, all right? For some reason, all your players decide to not only kill the one NPC, but kill all the commoners that are getting involved in the battle. You can easily take all these 5 different stat blocks, create an anti-adventuring party that essentially can one day hunt down that party for the things they had done at that small town. if things get that bad. And that's pretty much it, everybody. How to stop that murder hobo from causing problems. The first thing you can do to prevent murder hobos is by sending out that one page I showed you, the 2 components or the 2 pillars of a successful D&D game. Make sure you highlight that there's no murder hobos in your game. And if you forget to do that, we have this commoner uprising, we have a hidden veteran, we have a marshal or policeman, we have a hero looking for their lost loved one, the gladiator, we have a priest that can rescue or heal, bring back that murdered NPC to really alleviate the damage that that murder hobo has done. And we can also have an assassin that comes in down the road to try to kill that murder hobo. And you can always turn that NPC death into some type of mission that they have to do to right their wrong in that campaign. I hope that was useful for you. This is Don Franco 3 with RPG Boons, where we talk about everything RPG and how everything is RP. Please hit the subscribe button, leave a comment if you'd like. I would respond to it. Until then, see you next time.